Good afternoon, Lagos. Good afternoon, Enugu. How are you doing in Kano? Taraba, you're welcome. I greet you from the Abuja studios of KAFTAN TV, where I bring you the POLITY, where, as usual, we'll be talking about a trending national issue. And you know that in the course of the show, you have an opportunity to also participate through phone calls. We expect in due time that you will go beyond just watching to also making your impact felt, making your presence felt by making your contributions through the designated phone number, which will be unveiled at the appropriate time. And today, we will be talking about the president's visit to China and what are the possible dividends of that trip. What should we expect? What should Nigerians look forward to? Particularly amid recent skirmishes that we have had with some Chinese concerns, Chinese business entities. This and such other ramifications we're going to be looking at in the course of today's program. And with me to dissect this issue is Lekan Adefolarin. I'll unveil him when we come back from this break. Welcome back. You are on to the POLITY, coming to you from KAFTAN TV. And my name is Dayo, Omoogun. And now my guest today is Adefolarin OlamiLekan. He's a political economist. You're welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Now I think I can at least call you Lekan.
Yes, sure. Yes, shortly. Exactly, right. Sir. So, I think you are used to calling me that.
So good. Yeah. Now, Lekan, you're welcome here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I hope that we will be able to make do justice to the topic. Now, the president is out of the country. He's in China as we speak, and usually over the years it has become for many Nigerians, they think that it's empty globetrotting when the president travels out. Do you think that this mentality is right?
I think to first jump into the question and be able to answer that part of the question is to first lay an historical precedence about Nigeria and China bilateral relationship that far back to 1950, then during the colonial era. Although it wasn't that significant because at that period China was also going through some internal civil war. Yeah. Nigeria was under colonialism. Then by 1960, 1970, there was civil war in Nigeria. And China took to the side of the Biafrans, and Nigeria was, I think, being a Western pro-nation, Western countries were supporting Nigeria. But all of a sudden, Nigeria took a left turn in its international relationship, and that gave birth to whereby Nigeria had to establish a bilateral relationship with China in 1971. And that relationship cut across science and technology, trade, investment, education, and thereafter. After then, Nigeria-China relationship has been one of the longest relationships you can ever talk about when it comes to China and African other countries' relationships. So, and it has become so elaborate that today we're talking about President Tinubu, Jola is other predecessor going to China to have a robust interrelationship in terms of a bilateral engagement with them, and that's what President Tinubu is going. Now, back to the other question, are these globetrotting issues started during the Obasanjo era when many of us accused President Tinubu, Obasanjo, of just going all over the world, traveling here, and that was when they discovered that one of the presidential jets was smoking. If you remember the Bengaluru issue, that he was arrested as a result of making a pronouncement of that. So it is not about globetrotting, it's about how nations can bring themselves together and take advantage of what has been, they can take off. For instance, the Nigerian-China relationship based on, though on equal relationship, because if you look at Nigerian population, look at Nigerian-China population, is quite wide. They are in the billions, while saying in millions. Now you talk about technology-wise, talking about human development-wise, talking about science and technology-wise, talk about how industrialized they are, it's also very wide gap. But at the end, if you look at it comparatively to the relationship that Nigeria has had with the Western countries and the one we are trying to establish with China, it's a little bit relatively better. But going forward, there's still need for improvement. So the global truthing is not something we can quickly say, okay, we should accuse the government of, because from international foreign relations studies, we are made to understand nations are not isolated islands. They have to mingle together, they have to come together, and they have to take advantage of what they have. As we speak right now, China is interested in Nigerian raw material.
Yeah.
China is interested in Nigerian oil and gas. China is interested in Nigerian railway system. China is interested in building infrastructure. These are the things that they bring forward. But what is Nigerian taking there to also go and take as an advantage? I think that's where the discussion will fall in as we go forward.
It definitely we'll get there. Now, you have, I mean, that was one of the parts I was going to get to, but you already leapfrogged and got in there. Now, so I would say that, I want to find out. So you think that the relationship is a positive one for Nigeria? It's a beneficial one for Nigeria?
Not completely beneficial, because as I earlier pointed, I said unequal relationship. That's why I stress the population gap. I also stressed out the resources and industrialization. I also talk about human resources, human capital development. On both sides, if you weigh it scale by scale, they are higher than us. So because of that, they will be taking advantage of that on us. But we cannot say, okay, because we are having this kind of a boss relationship with China and we don't want it to happen. We have to take advantage of that, because they are one of our best buyers of our oil, and on their own side, we are their best in terms of the huge, humongous market that we created because of our population for their product. Majority of over 60 to 70% of product imported into Nigeria today is coming from China. So those are the things that we look at. But although there are also the negative side of it, which we are going to also dissect in this discussion.
Now, good. Now, it has been, I don't know, most Nigerians also feel that many times some of the products that you just referred to, some of the products that come from China, a lot of times are not really quite the standard, the international best standard. And it looks as though they provide an opportunity for maybe Nigerian businessmen to undercut the Nigerian people. I don't know.
I think that is quite correct, and it is not just because China proposed that to Nigerian businessmen. It is because both businessmen are looking for profit.
So can they make profit from quality and the right standard of
I'll give a typical example of how US government was able to cut off that kind of substandard product being imported into the US. They begin to throw at China various tariff, high tariff, unbearable tariff to China. Either you are bringing standard product. So with that, Chinese government take it upon themselves and be able to renew that relationship by ensuring that they provide the right product that is very good. But on Nigerian case, Nigerian government have been lacking behind when it comes to these products overseas. Oversight of this particular production. But they just allow Nigerian men to join the commerce and industry group, then go to China, bring the product, import it, and everywhere is supply with those products. But we don't do that check. Although another thing we need to also understand about Chinese product and Chinese industries is that they have their own homegrown standard.
Right.
That nobody can shortchange.
Right.
Now, when they have that, they implement that in their own country. Now, you as a businessman, they present that to you. But because most of our businessmen may not have the capital intensive to pay for good and international standard product, they will go for the substandard. And you also remember that mass production of goods this time around is what is enhancing capital inflow for majority of businessmen. I will explain this. Mass production means that those products are not longer lifespan product. Highest 4-5 years. You buy a phone today, they give you a guarantee of 2 years. But before the 2 years come, you discover a lot of malfunctioning in the phone. And that's what is happening across global businesses. Although the US have been able to curtail that with China and other countries that normally export products into their country. But in Nigerian case, we have not done that. And that also lies on World Trade Organization. Because third world countries are suffering all these substandard products being exported or imported into their countries. Right. So if World Trade Organization, if African Union, if ECOWAS don't take a stand, Nigeria alone can't do it. There are a lot of multilateral agreements, there are a lot of bilateral agreements across the world that Nigerians have signed, and a lot of international conventions that Nigeria have signed up. So if they don't take this up as a serious case, there is no way we can curtail that substandard product that have been imported into the country. But the federal government must take a stand. Just like the US take a stand. Although we don't have the same military capacity, power like the China. That's why I've been mentioned of their military strength, their population, their technology-wise, their human capital-wise, to show how unequal all this relationship has been over the years.
Now, I think that there's actually a lesson or lessons to learn from China for Nigerians. I mean, we'll still go to whatever it is that is possible from this visit.
Exactly.
But let's get some. I think that there should be lessons that Nigeria or Nigerians can take from China or the Chinese, looking at the fact that some years back they were among the poorest nations around the world. So we need to take a cue. What exactly have they been able to do that we also need to do so that we can get out of this trap? Because it's a trap.
Exactly.
A trap of always having to supply raw materials at very cheap prices and then have to buy finished goods at very, and this it's not just even China. This cuts across our international trade spectre. So I'm asking, what do you think that Nigeria should be taking? What are those ingredients of success that transferred China from the valley of poverty to the height of relevance, of international relevance today? What are those ingredients you can identify that you think that we as Nigerians or as a Nigerian government are not already practicing?
There are two things. One is the government, the system of government, and the other is the principles of economic. The system of government that Chinese is practicing, even though those of us that consider ourselves a democratic country call them dictatorship nations. And what it means is that they don't take indiscipline as a form of citizenship. So are Nigerians ready to be disciplined? Are Nigerians ready to show patriotism to the highest point they can ever show to? Those are the things that Chinese put up. And that was what built their culture of democratic tendency. Although people call them communist nation, people call them totalitarian. The thing is that they have been able to build the system of government in a way far, far different from the Western democracy that we are practicing. Because most of us have not yet to understand and critically observe that the Western democracy that we are practicing is a Western democracy of economic principle that support free market economy. So until we will be able to understand that, then we'll be able to put our democracy in place. I remember some few months ago, former President Olusegun Obasanjo came to Abuja and said, Africa need to rethink its democracy. Many of us were like, what is he talking about? Many people were pointing to, it is about human rights. It is not about human. He was thinking about the economic principles that we are practicing as a result of our democracy. That doesn't allow government to function as a business-like entity. We remove every form of businesses from the hand of government, and we say let the private individual take it. That's what is being done in Western democracy.
That's it.
And that kills how government can be efficient and effective. So are Nigerians ready? Because these are the two critical lessons that I can say, the system of government and the principles of economy that we are practicing.
Now, where does I like to? I have this feeling that it's not just it's like the way we clamor all the time for maybe a change of constitution or some new laws or some whatever. At the end, experience has shown that many times it's not so much the system as the people who run the system. Because you find a situation where we came from a time when government ran most businesses. You had NITEL, you had Nigeria Postal Service, and so on and so forth, plenty. And then these people came and said, no, that was wrong. The economy should not be business of the government.
Exactly.
Now, and then we have moved here. And even here, we have seen that, I mean, efficiency is still low. Productivity is still low. I mean, all the factors, all the assessment factors that you want to look at have still not really improved. So do you still insist is the principles of the economy or the people? Because I think that a lot more, from what you have said, I think that a lot more emphasis should be on the people, where you started from, about discipline, about moral suasion. I think that trumps the economic system, because whatever economic system will be run by human beings, will be run by Nigerians in Nigeria.
Exactly.
And so, if for example, if those Western-based system works for the West, why does it not work for us? So these are some of the things we need to do.
I really get you, and I really want to also agree with you to an extent that the people who occupy those positions also have a sense of patriotism to show when it comes to them occupying governance and making things work. But the issue remains that the principles will not allow them. Even though if they want to show patriotism, take for example the fuel crisis that we are suffering in Nigeria. What stopped the government under Obasanjo in 1999 to 2007 to revamp and revitalize the fuel refineries? It was the principle. Even though if him as a person wants to do it, the neoliberal choice of a ruling and governing class will never allow them, because the principles have said, no, Mr. Man, you want more money to run your economy? This is what you need to do, this is what you do. This is what the principles of neoliberal economic principles talk about. Government must hands off. So he will be constrained. And that's why for that 8 years, the fuel refineries never worked. Rather, they asked him to privatize them, and he went ahead to sell over 50% of those refineries. So, in as much as I will agree that the people, the person or the people supposed to do one or two things, but the principles will also contradict them in a way. And again, the choice of those individuals because of the task for accumulation of wealth. I want to be rich. The same person that we're talking about, the former president, the National Library that belongs to Nigerian, who owns it today? It belongs to him because of everybody that is in government want to make money, accumulation of wealth. And this kind of thirst for wealth comes from that principles of economy, neoliberal economy that talk about capitalist accumulation of wealth. Because it's all about private people making more money and engaging themselves and what happened to the people. Because the jettison welfare system that would have taken care of the people.
Now, so you sort of emphasized the principle. If you, the sense I get from that emphasis is that the principle is not even local
at all.
Exactly. So I think that I'll prefer that that this is unveiled so that we really know what exactly you're talking about when you say the principles. Because the sense I get is that you're saying that there is some like powers breathing down the authorities, the local authorities necks to ensure that things go in the way that they have
to go. Because Chinese did that. They refused to follow the principle that third world countries are following in terms of economy. They refused to take the tenant or the kind of democracy that third world countries are taking. Election every 4 years, election every 8 years. What happened after election? Nothing. Another time is election. The people suffer. But in China, they have election every 7 years. And their people are better off. So the kind of system of government they operate and the kind of economic principle they operate. Meanwhile, we embrace a democracy and a system of government that we thought that would help the economy to grow. Meanwhile, it was the other way around. And that's why we are suffering. So that's why I'm emphasizing on the principles. Even though the people also have a role to play. But the thing is that because we are a third world country that was colonized, a lot of things have changed. Our economy from before we met colonialism was not internationalized, was not monetized. But so many things have changed. Well, I'm bringing this up because we're talking about foreign relations that have to do with bilateral relationships.
Yes, I know.
Whereby one country is enjoying the relationship, the other one is not enjoying the relationship because of weak foresight and vision and boldness and negotiating power on the part of the people who negotiate for the government, on the part of the people who will draft the code of relationship. Yeah. So these are the things that happen. And when we are drafting the code of relationship with China, we'll be using the principles of neoliberal policy to draft it. I mean, they are drawing their own from the principles of what will be a socialist system of economy that protect the government, that protect the people. But our own is to protect private entity. Meanwhile, we left the people off the hook. A good case or a good point of example is this particular issue that Ogun State had with
we'll get to that. We'll get there.
All right.
Now, I would say that is it you make it seem as if it's so difficult or near impossible for countries in the third world, for example, to break free and say, okay, these principles that you have foisted on us are really not working. And so we want to survive. Our people must survive. And if they must survive and prosper and thrive, we cannot continue on this path. And so we choose our path. Is that impossible?
It's not impossible.
Very good.
The Asian tigers, the Asian cubs.
Exactly.
They did it. But how did they did it? They did it with the understanding that people also understanding what the government wants to do. But here in Nigeria, here in third world countries, we have a lot of stooges. We have a lot of neoliberal agents all across who parade themselves as businessmen and entity. Who by the time let's say for instance, when a good example of what you have just put, when ECOWAS said they want a single currency, who stood against ECOWAS single currency? Currently, ECOWAS is running African Free Trade, Continental Free Trade Agreement. Who are the people against it? The citizens of this ECOWAS, the citizens of this Africa, who are tied with Western businesses and the rest of them, who believe that principles might continue because it make more profit for the business. Meanwhile, we are talking about something that could be African homegrown economic system. ECOWAS introduced currency. They say no, it cannot work. But EU introduced currency, it worked for them. Works. Now, African Union also is bringing up a lot of genuine economic principles that could help African countries. Though they'll say no, it will not work. The free trade agreement that all the 54 African countries signed onto, why is it that today nobody wants to practice it? The payment system, the after payment system that have been introduced against MasterCard and the rest of them, why are we not making use of it? So when you look at all this, in as much as we know that this can work, but the citizens who are intellectuals, intelligent, must also fall in line. But once they don't fall in line, they're opposing it, can never work. And that's what Africa is suffering from.
My God. We'll come back after this time out. Thank you. We'll come back.
Not an issue of protest. It's an issue of inciting mutiny. Mutiny means trying to change government by force, not by constitutional means. So that is the inciting disaffection to the government. So where a person incite other people to riot, in order to change the system by force, is what we call mutiny. And in our laws, it is treason. So that is why they have been arraigned today for treason, inciting mutiny, inciting disaffection, rioting, and causing so much destruction in the country.
Simple. We are happy that finally protesters have been charged. Unfortunately, instead of charging them for protest, the Tinubu government has charged them for terrorism. What an irony of some sort. When Bello, Tuje, and other terrorists and bandits are on TikTok.
Welcome back. I'm still in the studio with Adefolarin OlamiLekan, a political economist, and we're looking at the president's visit to China, and we have gotten some background about the journey together between Nigeria and China, and how it's been from pre-colonial days up till now, and how it has enlarged over time, even though we seem to be having the crumbs, as it were, comparatively.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's move a little bit forward. Now, so we've seen that their system of government has helped them to move from poverty to, maybe we can't still yet say that they are rich.
Exactly.
But then they are a lot, they are not where they used to be. Very far from where they used to be.
Exactly.
In fact, they are very relevant in today's international economy and politics.
Exactly.
Now, I like to find out, Now, what do you think is responsible? Because when you talk about China, there's a certain kind of fear. There's a certain kind of fear.
Exactly.
When I remember that a few years back, when I think it was President Buhari, who it looked as if his regime was really turning a wholesale, largely towards China. There were hues and cries in Nigeria that, look, that place where they go, you better watch it. And that I remember so many things were in the media that they have an attitude of, if they give you help, if they give you aid, if they give you facilities, and you don't make good your promises or something, they go ahead and strip you of your national assets.
Exactly.
So, how? I mean, is that positive for the country?
I think
and what does that portend for nations like Nigeria that want to get into? Because we just saw an example recently of threats by some of their business concerns. First, they tried to seize our presidential jet, and then beyond that, they went ahead and wanted to also seize some properties abroad. So, which is a confirmation of those fears that were expressed before. Now, so how does this? What should be the stand of a country like Nigeria, and does this help the image of China? Two things.
I think very seriously and very sad that we have to go into that kind of issues with Chinese businessmen as well as the Chinese government. Although we are not involved with the Chinese government with the Ogun State issue. Yes. It was just some businessmen who came to Nigeria. But we also need to look at that particular business transaction they had. But before now, we have had whereby for Zambia, Chinese built an airport for them. For Kenya, Chinese built airport for them. And there was default in the payment. And the Chinese, it's okay. From now henceforth, we'll be collecting whatever charges, whatever tolls that will be collected at that airport. And they manned their people. Although it was still the Kenyan, we were collecting the money, but they were not giving the money to their government. And they were giving money to the Chinese. So, although we can understand the media narrative around it, to look as if Chinese actually took over that property. Although the property still belongs to those countries, but just that the money that's supposed to be paid for it, it has to be paid for him within the lifespan of the agreement. Now, to the Ogun State issue, we understood that they're supposed to build a what they call a free zone, free business zone, free trade zone. And people put in bid. And this particular Chinese company, in collaboration with some Ogun State citizen indigenous, put in their bid. And it was discovered that they were not fit to do that. They don't have the capital, they don't have the money to do that kind of business. Not like the one that Lagos did. You know, Lagos also did the same thing. And they built their free trade zone, the port, the airport that is coming, or the airport is coming up in Lagos, all by the same Chinese company and the rest of them, with good agreements, with good loan backing. But this particular one that Ogun State went into, it was done as if it was a scam. And the government then, 2016, recognized that, okay, these guys are not fit to do this kind of thing. They don't even have the money. But they have internal collaborator. And those are the challenges that we have in Nigeria.
Like a lot of our people before.
Exactly. We always collaborate with these foreigners and come and dupe. And it was quite sensitive on the part of Governor Omoogun then to be very sensitive and say, no, I can't give out this contract to these people. If you have given that money to those people, they would have run away with those people. So what these people are now claiming was that the money they spend in submitting their bid and other money they have spent at site, they want the government to pay, but that's why they went and sued Nigeria in France.
Okay, that is if the clauses
allow that to happen. But we know that if you submit bid and you usually it's gone. So for me, when that news came, I was like, no, I knew where this one is coming from. These are the sign of people that what happened to the PID pipeline that was not done, nothing was done, and somebody want to collect $10 billion from Nigeria. It was the same Nigerians that went, although two of them are in prison, one is late. As a result of that, one of them died. Yeah. So those are the things that are happening. Now, in terms of Chinese, we knew that there was a real war, a real cold war between Western powers and the Chinese government. When Chinese began to launch out its aid programs and grant programs in Africa. Remember, Chinese government built the African Union headquarters in Ethiopia for Africa. They built it from scratch to the finish, and they supported a lot of African countries in Sierra Leone, in Liberia, in Gambia. Chinese are building bridges and every other thing. In Nigeria, they have come. They gave us aid. 772 million aid they gave us for CCTV in Abuja. Who stole the money?
Where is it?
Who stole the money? Is it not Nigerians? and we pay for the money. We pay back the loans. No, what I'm trying to point out, in as much as this agreement is coming up, the fear is what, because of the Cold War between the Western countries and China. And the Western countries, they have a lot of stooges here in Nigeria, particularly in the media, particularly in the intellectual, the NGOs. They come up with this narrative that, Chinese will take over your country, Chinese will enslave you, Chinese will do this. So that narrative flow into the heart of many Nigerians, and many Nigerians believe that this is what the Chinese are going to do if we go into strong relationship with them. But it has been proven that it is not the fact, or it's not the truth picture of what they are trying to point at, especially if the agreement is well done in a way that we can see things for
ourselves. Can you truly say that it has been proven not to be right when a business with a subnational turns Ori, and then that business goes for something, it's a national asset and wanted to, seize the presidential jets? And
the thing that I will say is, when they went with that to the court, did the court grant them?
No, but for them to even have the temerity
the what gave them that boldness, that energy, was the P&ID issue. Then after P&ID issue, the Zingeru issue. Was it not the same Chinese people that completed the Zingeru power plant in Taraba or Adamawa? They are the one. Meanwhile, the other people that we gave those contracts to, they spoiled everything, they collected the money. A particular former minister of power will be going to jail if care is not taken, if he refuses to speak up. The same thing happened to Ajakuta. We gave it to Indian companies and some Nigerians who collided with them. They strip off the government with billions of naira through the court. So it's not just Chinese that will come and say, okay, do this and do that. But we should be careful about our internal collaborators, who are our brothers and sisters, who gave this one that happened in France. It was our people that would say, you can do this. After P&I almost got away with $10 billion. If not that the government of Boy was very intellectual and very sound about what they are doing, and they were able to clamp on the people that were pushing for that. The same thing with this Ugiri power plant stuff that they said fake approved. Meanwhile, nobody approved anything for anybody. But they wanted to collect over $400 million from the federal government of Nigeria. So we must be able to understand it. But in terms, I said something earlier when we started this. I said it's an equal relationship as a result of human capital, military power, science and technology. They can use that. But I have not seen for now in the relationship between Nigeria and China where the Chinese government say they want to come and take over Nigeria. After they have given us loan, the loan they gave us in FCT, before we finish, did they come and take over FCT when they collected $700 million for them for CCTV? Did they come and take over FCT?
Good. That's a good one. Now, so what exactly, when you say that the problem is with insider problems.
Exactly.
So why is it, for example, I do not think anything has been, I've not heard anything, maybe I'm not following correctly, about any internal participants in that Ogun state arrangement that is probably being prosecuted or whatever.
It's because the Ogun State government is not taking any action because they don't want to waste their money in any court.
So, what does that
mean? They don't want to waste their money.
Waste their money. They don't want to, because at the end,
the thing is that the Chinese company cannot come to Ogun State and come and seize any property. Ogun State doesn't have any property outside.
No. The aspect I'm talking about is for that thing to have gotten to that point, you have identified, you have hinted that there is possibility that there are insiders who are supporting such things. Is it not possible to fish out those kind of persons and take the matter up with them? So that we can act
as kind of nonsense.
It can act as a deterrent.
Exactly. We need to do that. But is government willing to do that? And although the government may take it up, but the Ogun State need to push for it. But on the other hand, if Ogun State is not pushing for it, the federal government can push for it because it was a national embarrassment, it was a global embarrassment.
Exactly.
So, but on the other hand is this, and there's something about I've understood about federal government, not just the federal government or federal government. The moment they take up a case like this, a big fish may be involved. And before you know it, it will become like, they are winch hunting. 2017 election is coming. 2027 election is coming. So they are winch hunting people all up around. They are pushing people here and there. Maybe that's why the federal government is very careful. But if you remember the P&ID case, they pursued it because they discovered that it was almost giving the government a big embarrassment. Because government was almost paying for that. If not that the government would say, where would that money come from? But the other instance is for this particular case in point, and to deter other people from doing
there's a need to.
Let us take action.
Exactly.
Let a petition be written by Ogun State government to EFCC. And let the federal government also order the Attorney General to begin to do something about. Although we understand they have.
Oh, you know, as you say that now, I also think that it's possible that there's some big fish that are involved.
Did you see the outcry? And when the outcry came, somebody was saying, it's an embarrassment that under person government they want to seize Nigeria. I was like, look at this one. It become a political thing. So that's why government have to be very careful. But the right thing need to be done. The Attorney General need to take up the issues, and thank God they were able to quickly interject and intervene in the London issue where they want to go and seize Nigerian
properties. Now see, the president is in China right now. And I do know that when such visits occur, it's not just a hello, how are you?
Exactly.
It's about a whole lot of things that will strengthen and improve the relationship.
Exactly.
Do you think that this matter of this attempt to take over our properties will be taken up at that level?
I expect that. But first and foremost, let us quickly establish that the President Tinubu visit to China was as a result of his invitation by the President of China to come over to China for the bilateral relationship discussion, as well as look at issues of mutual interest. And that's why the President is there right now. And on the issue of the Ogun State or seizing of our private jet, I think it would be of good cause if the President can also make mention of that to the Chinese government in terms of how the Chinese company have been operating in Nigeria. Not just because they want to seize the presidential jet, but the kind of labor activities, the kind of maltreatment Chinese company normally meted out to Nigerian workers is also very
it's another point
that the president needs to raise. And apart from that, also the way Chinese company are operating, whether they are fulfilling their tax obligation, whether they are carrying out tax evasion and the rest of it. So the government need to put all this before the Chinese government so that he on his part can now correct his people as they go into Nigeria for businesses and others.
Yeah, good. Now, you can call into this program using our phone lines, which is being displayed on the screen, 080-299-38365. Please do well to be a part of this conversation, because that's the beauty of it, that you can be a part, your voice can be heard. And we're ready to amplify that voice if you will just take the step of making the call. Now, so you also believe that should come up for discussion.
Exactly.
Because we can't continue to be in such a very embarrassing situations, and unless those things are taken up at such high levels, there's every tendency that these things will pop up once in a while like that, and the embarrassment can be very, I don't know, I don't think that's good for our history, our records at all.
Exactly.
And I don't think that in this particular situation that Nigeria was deserving of that level of embarrassment, because you had a problem between you and a subnational, and especially when, like you said, they were the ones who were not even in a
good position, proper standing, because the Ogun State government was competing with Lagos on this aspect of a free economic free zone, because the government have given them the license for Lagos to do that. Ogun State also go for it, although I don't know why the current government is now vibing for that free economic zone for Ogun State. But it was quite competitive between Lagos and Ogun. And Lagos was doing very well. So Ogun State also want to do the same thing. And Lagos also gave his own to Chinese company. But this one that the Ogun State gave it to was not a Chinese company that has all the way to carry out such a gigantic project. And they decide to sign off the project. So on the part of Ogun State government, I think they need to, as I said earlier, they need to write a petition to AFCC to see how they can fight to the root cause of this particular incident. But on the part of the federal government also, it's time for us to also look at our bilateral treaty and multilateral treaty. As they are in China, it should be part and parcel of the agreement they are going to be having, that any company that is coming to Nigeria to work, it should be on the basis and recognition of the Chinese government.
Of the Chinese government?
Yes.
But also, I think that beyond, I mean, is it right that the subnationals can have agreements with businesses from abroad that are apparently not to the knowledge of the federal government? Is it possible that this agreement, for example, this business transaction, was not originally known to the federal government?
It will, but on the other part, state governors are the federating unit.
Yes.
There are some decisions they can take on their part. As I earlier pointed, all of them have gotten the license to build a free economic zone in their state,
yes,
which has been approved by the federal government.
Yes, but if their transactions will bring us shame, will bring us disdain in the international community, then isn't it time that maybe a different policy, a different legal framework is put in place to ensure that whatever it is you are getting into, per minute, per move, per section, the federal government is into it, so that whatever is going on, the federal government also knows. Because I think that this also was sort of very embarrassing to the federal government.
Exactly.
And it just popped out up from nowhere. And that can be staved off. That kind of thing can be prevented. And I think that every effort should be made to put the kind of legal framework that ensures that such things are averted.
I think we have agencies and institutions that are managing that. But the level they are managing it, I can't really talk about. We have what they call it, the Nigerian Investment Promotion Council, yes. NIGCO. We also have the Federal Ministry of Investment and Trade that also take most of these investment companies into the country. Then we also have the Free Zone Authority that will also mark out all these things. So, but the question is that how are they monitoring and evaluating the functions and activities of these foreign companies? We have had incidences where Nigerian Immigration Service have come up and say, okay, we have what they call ex parte quota. No, ex parte quotas are the foreign workers that are coming to the country that to come and work. So we have had them talking about, okay, the numbers is getting so ballooned, but you know that they also make money from that.
Exactly. Because
they make money from their taxes, they also make money from their registration. So government should be able to put a legal framework that could make it so a point whereby the activities they are even carrying out at subnational level can be unveiled. Because some of them are carrying out those businesses at the subnational level that federal government may not know that they are doing this kind of, like the one that are into mining. What happened in Zamfara State, if not that the federal government take Zamfara State very, very serious at this point in time in terms of gold mining, nobody will know that Britain, Chinese, all manner of people across the world are mining gold in Zamfara. But the government are taking it, so we want them to also do the same thing, which is expected them to do. But the political will to get this thing done properly is where we normally have challenges, because at most times you will not see people now arguing that they are federating unit. Federal government should not be, it's like federal government is oppressing them, doing this and doing that. You get it? But we are forgetting that there are 9 key areas in the what they call it, exclusive list that give rise for the federal government to tackle, particularly foreign relationship, and foreign relationship cut across trade and investment and businesses. So we were able to streamline that. But the argument has always been, federal government is just oppressing them. They don't want the state government to do this. And that will be the outcome if the federal government begin to ask for some of these laws to be put in place. But I just hope that we can find a balance between it so that everybody can have a better way of enjoying the activities of businesses.
Clearly going forward, the country needs to manage this better. It clearly needs to put maybe some more stringent laws in place.
It may not be stringent per se, but it will be something that can put caution to activities.
That can ensure that we don't fall into this kind of situations. Exactly. I think that we need, because you see, that's part of the reason why many countries take us for granted. You would recall some of the things that former President of America said of Africa and about Nigeria, and some very negative things. And all those things start from these things, like you rightly alluded to a while ago. I think I watched something on social media some time ago where the same kind of agreements we will sign and gladly sign and sign off our Commonwealth.
Exactly.
Some African country will go there and tear those things to pieces, to shreds, and say, no, we can't do this.
At all.
We can't do this one. We can't do this one. And then by the time it is done, there was a case like that the other parties now began to look at this one. They are different Africans.
Exactly.
So, but generally, on the general level, we tend to just agree to anything, including enslaving us indirectly.
Do you know how the agreement comes to be? As President Tinubu go to China today, most of the laws, most of the things that we put together for him comes from all these business engagement groups, commerce and industry, NASIMA, they bring all these memos. So what they are bringing is their own interest. Now, when they now get to the government, Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment, Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they now harvest those things and put them in perspective to national interest and streamline it to national interest.
Yes.
But when you now become that, you now discover that some of those things at the end of the day, it's not more national interest, but just self-individual interest of businessmen across Nigeria. That's what we find.
Yeah, but what it means, because you see, like you just identified, what it means is also that the government has to put on its
thinking cap or
thinking cap and
eagle eye.
Eagle eye. That's
exactly.
the one. It must be more eagle-eyed to ensure that when those things come to the ministry that has oversight of that, they should ensure that they have enough experts, they have smart people who can easily detect. But again, it comes right back again. It's an evil cycle. It comes right back again to the issue of collusion. Because you might even have people within the ministries who will let those things pass because they have some vested interests also.
That's it.
So that's a real issue.
And it goes back to what I said earlier, the principles of the economy that we are practicing. Because every business agreement, economic agreement, the government want to go and engage as we speak concerning Nigeria, it is for the interest of the private sector, organized private sector. Who are the people that follow the president to China? Members of NASIMA, members of MAN, members of common business commerces, but academia, business intellectuals who can go through some of these true historical precedents and say, oh, no, this happened in the past, we can't get this up. No, let's put this aside. We are talking about national interest. Now, the president will go to China. He's talking about energy. He's talking about agriculture. He's not talking about security because nobody will agree that Nigeria should go and sign any security agreement with China. But they could even be the best for us in terms of security technology they will provide for us. But nobody wants us to go to that level. Agriculture, energy, oil and gas.
Since you approached it, let's go there. All right. So, what exactly do you think will be put on the table now? Should be put on the table by this presidential team? For the intervention, the support of the Chinese government?
I think we will go back to 1971. What have we been having with them? What kind of it goes back to technology, science, education, infrastructure. Those are the things that we normally table before them. Then agriculture, electronics development, and the rest of those are the things that we normally.
I recall that the Minister of Works just about 2 weeks ago, while talking about his 1 year, he engaged the press and he was talking about his 1 year in office. He did make a reference that very shortly he will be on the president's team to China, and that there are some roads that they had committed to supporting, and that they will bring it to the
Chinese government.
Remembrance, and they hope that something will be done. Let's quickly take this call. This is our first call today. Hello, good afternoon.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's your name and where are you calling from?
It is Dayo from Taraba.
Okay, let's hear your contributions, please.
About the Tinubu to China. So now, I see things will be done better. To visit there.
Would you want to call us back because it's breaking? We can hardly make out what you're saying. Yeah. The number remains open. Please do call us from wherever you are to make your own contributions. The number is still 08029938365. Thanks for making that call. Now, so you were saying something before that.
Exactly. I said you asked what do we putting on the table. It will be far from what we have been. The relationship would have been having, although we are improving on the relationship. Majorly now we are not focusing on infrastructure. They have helped us to build railway. They help Lagos to build their red line rail, their blue line. Now I think they are going for the blue line now. They are green line now. Okay. They have moved from the red to the blue. So they have done that. So they have helped in road infrastructure, and they also help in the area of agriculture. And I also see they also help in the area of transport and traffic. We can see in Abuja, most of the new traffic that was placed in the central area was provided by Chinese government and their aid grant agencies. So we will continue to put that into the platform. But what I would have even want the government to also ask is, in the area of security, Chinese is also very technologically advanced. See, in the world today that we speak, apart from Russia that US is afraid of, the next country that US is afraid of is Chinese.
Maybe you should not use the word afraid.
or of a threat to, or threat to US.
I mean, they are careful about
is the Chinese. Because over the years that we have been seeing the Chinese Sea War, whatever, they always been very careful not to tamper. Even the issue of Taiwan and Hong Kong issue, the US have been very, very polite in engaging, not the way they are doing in the Middle East. You get it? So we can also table before them. What can they help us to do in terms of insecurity? We have called on the Western power. None of them is helping us to fight Boko Haram. Banditry has come. None of them is supporting us with anything. Kidnapping and the rest of them. But can Chinese also, with their technology, can they also help us? Although many Nigerians may not want this kind of thing that I'm saying, because they'll say, Chinese for security, no, because they are saying that Chinese coming to Africa is second imperialism.
Exactly.
But has that really happened compared to the relationship we are having with the Western powers? Because what we are suffering today in Africa particularly is as a result of the relationship we are having with them, because they are telling us war, they are giving us ground, they are giving us everything that they are giving us. But at the end of the day, this war refuses to stop. This poverty refuses to stop. Unemployment refuses to stop. As a result of, because of the kind of relationship we are having with them. So can we think alternatively in a way that we can have a robust relationship with a country or a region that could help us to save us out of our predicament? France, that have been an ally of the Francophone country, has left them in their problem. Who came to their rescue? Russia.
So alignments are, I mean, there are...
You can align and realign.
Or realignments.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not necessarily we have been buying weapons from Turkey, from US and the rest of them. Those weapons, have they really helped us to solve the problem? US came and established African Command Center.
Lekan, I should think that talking about this insecurity issue, I think a lot lies at home with us. Yeah, because like we all have identified over time, I mean, we know it's practically that a hungry man is an angry man.
Definitely.
So I think that apart from the kinetic measures, it's very important that the socio-economic measures are properly put in place to prevent, because prevention will always be better than cure.
Exactly.
So to prevent the breakdown of law and order, to prevent this mushrooming of insecurity challenges. So I think that a major portion of the efforts that's needed to curb the insecurity lies with us at home.
And that means that if you allow me, so that this word will not escape from my mind.
Yes.
Can a ruling class and governing class commit class suicide? That is the only way they can solve that, if we are going to use the non-kinetic means to solve insecurity. Can they commit? Because what the people who are going to criminality are saying that someone with SUV. I was at the junction before I came into the studio. How many SUV did I see pass through my front? Not with siren shower. The ones that were passing through siren were passing through the major express. But the one that were passing, I was just seeing SUV. A long queue at the filling station.
Has never been a crime.
No, it's not a crime.
Yeah.
But the people who are going to cry, when will I ride my own SUV? When will I have a 3 square meal, solid, balanced, nutrient food? Because those are the things they are thinking. But as long as that inequality gap is being widened as a result of poor allocation and disbursement of resources, it will continue. So if you want to have a final solution, let them commit class suicide. Let them also be as poor, not poor per se, but come to the level of everybody. But are the ruling class ready to do that? Are the governing class ready to do that? They are not ready. So when we now say, okay, let us use this, I've heard a lot of people say, the thing is that these people are not ready. I'll give you 2 examples. Now, in the Northwest, that we're having majority of the kidnapping and banditry issue, they have had 2 serious national security meetings in Zamfara and in Katsina, bringing elite intellectuals, elite ruling class to come and talk about to solve the security. Do you know how much was budgeted for that meeting? How much they was spent on hotel bills, feeding, and the rest of them? At the end of the day, everybody go till tomorrow. 2 days back or 3 days back, Sokoto was attacked, and upon all the meetings that they had. But the people who are doing all those things, though we are not supporting that people should go into crime because they are poor. No, that is not what we are saying. What we are saying is that the ruling class and the governing class must come to the level that these people are suffering. Can we do something
to the level where conspicuous consumption is no longer there?
Exactly.
It's reduced, and then the gap between the rich and the poor
is also reduced.
Is crashed. Yeah,
that's the only way we can do it. And the only way we can do it, that means when resources come,
is deliberately
put into that. But when resources come, local government chairman, 500 million was given to you this month. You look at around, okay, you are paying salaries of 50 million. This one 100 million, the rest 350 million. You look at, okay, you just find a mischievous and frivolous contract that does not exist. You split the money into it because you know you are coming to it back to you. Meanwhile, the people are suffering. There is no portable drinking water.
In the end, it's still our problem. It's still our system's problem.
Definitely.
Because if such people do those things and get scot-free, go scot-free, it's not China's problem. It's not America's problem. It's not the West. The problem is still local.
We are not talking about global security, but it is linked also to global instability, particularly
I know, I agree.
But it's all linked to foreign relationship, bilateral relationship that country goes into. I'm just bringing out that the government may neglect areas of asking Chinese for their intelligence about insecurity in Nigeria because they could also have it. Just the way we ask France, tomorrow, no, France doesn't want to give us any concrete intelligence about Boko Haram, but they will call African government to come and talk about security in Paris. Before, I think by late October, they will be doing that meeting this year. Every late October, they will have that African-France security meetings, where they will call all African heads to come and talk about terrorism. At the end of the day, they will not give them one intelligent information that will help them to solve their security problem.
Well, the thing again, I think that we need to also be careful who gets involved in security.
Definitely,
because many times the security personnel can be a challenge.
Exactly.
Because, like you know, even in traditional parlance, they would say that. I'm sorry, that it's the inside thief, yes,
or
the inside crook, or inside rat that invites other rats from outside to come and have a feast and do damage in the house.
Exactly.
So security, I believe, is a very delicate issue, and I would not entirely blame the government for being very hesitant about allowing other parties or other countries to really come into it, because once they have access, that level of access, because security, I mean, even within, that's why we're suffering some of the things we're suffering, because there are all kinds of what do you call it now? Deceit going on. There was a time in this country where there were reports that once the military are about to attack, information would have reached
those bandits,
the bandits or the Boko Haram people, and then they will relocate. They will run from their hideouts and relocate to another place into safety, and the effort of the military will be wasted. So this is a small piece of how even the security people can be a challenge to the security system. So I think that that must be a major reason why they are being a bit hesitant about doing that. So I think that if we concentrate more on dealing with social issues, I mean, look, for example, we just had protests, and rather than really look at those issues as dispassionately as possible and tackle them, what do we have? We're having a situation where people who all that they did was protest, being paraded all around courts, some of them from gulags, and being tried. And this clearly has no support from our constitution.
Exactly.
It has no support from any law. But you can imagine what they've gone through. Now, what that says is that it's a sign that in the days ahead, you are not expected to do any protest.
Exactly.
It's a way or raise your voice, or have a voice of dissent. And if you do not have a voice of dissent in any setting, even in a family, many times there is every tendency that the wrong things will be done.
Very well.
Because there's no check. There's nobody saying, this thing, as they go so, how it be so. And, I mean, so I think that there's a whole lot that rests with us in terms of security.
I agree with you, because I'm someone that's a political economist that believe in homegrown market economies principles. That means we must look inward to see what to benefit
to provide solutions
to solve our problem. And we just expect the government to do that. It's just that sometimes, international intelligence in terms of the security issues is very, very key, because most of the weapons that are being perpetrated, being used in these criminal activities are not even manufactured in Nigeria. So it's coming from somewhere. So that is why I'm bringing up that, because we need intelligence, because intelligence has really failed us over the years. Now, to the issue of governance.
Talking about, just before you, please hold your thought. Don't lose the
flow.
Yeah. Now, talking about the need for intelligence, let's quickly take this. It's their program. Hello? Hello? Oh, no. We lost it again. I think there's a problem. The network's having serious challenges around here. And so, talking about the need for intelligence, one other thing that I know has impeded the easy flow of intelligence is lack of trust, distrust. And I can bring it to very local levels where, for example, there are police informants. Let's try if we get this. Hello? Hello, good afternoon. Hello? So, now, you find out that many times informants make reports to the police station, and in many cases, not all cases, of course, or in some cases, you find a situation where that information, that secret information that has been brought for the security of the entirety of the people, the authorities receive it, and then somehow there's a leakage of how it got to them. Definitely there'll be reprisals for that kind of thing. And so once you get reprisal, once you get a negative response because of what you did for the benefit of the entire system, next time you're not going to do that.
Exactly. It has happened over time. We have seen such cases.
So
most Nigerians are very skeptical when it comes to giving information to the security agencies. Yes. But we will not also discourage that not to happen. We need to continue to give information. But what the security agencies need to do is to build up confidence in the public and trust in the public that, okay, people will receive your information and prosecute that information to help everybody, because security is everybody's business. Exactly. And when the impact of it comes, it falls on everybody. It's not just the community or society alone, but including the security men also suffer from it.
Exactly.
We have seen where
sometimes they are even in the first line
of duty, whereby they are being attacked. So we just need to ensure that we help our nation and help ourselves. But for the President Tinubu visit to China, just like we already pointed out, apart from the issue of agriculture, energy, oil, exportation, importation of raw material, because Chinese is also very interested in our raw materials. Most of the raw material that they are because they are very industrial, they know how to turn those things into finished product. They should also table, things that could also help us. Education, scholarship, cultural exchanges, we know they have been doing that, but they should also table things that could also help us. That's why I made mention of intelligence in the area of security. But going forward, the government must also table things that are concrete before the Chinese government, so that we can have a balance of mutual bilateral exchanges. Don't you think that
even though they seem to be available to assist us, don't you think that there are some doors that should also be shut against them? What do I mean by that? In recent times, we have seen, I think I've seen Chinese Gari. Now, clearly, when they venture into when they go into such ventures, most likely the local business people in that area cannot compete. Because they have cheap power, they have labor, they have, everything is available for them. And we are ready, we are glad to send our raw materials at very cheap rates. So, I think we have to be deliberate. The government has to be intentional about insisting that there are some areas that are no-go.
Exactly. And it's very important that you very pointed this out. But I'll ask, who introduced Chinese to Gari? Are they consuming the Gari themselves? It is our businessmen.
Yes, it's
to make it more, just the way they introduce red oil to Malaysia and Indonesia. We are now importing red oil that can be made in Igala land here. Now, you now see that imported one to be more superior than the local one that are produced in Igala land or in Omoogun. So it is our businessmen. So it's just the internal people that are just bringing up all these things. I know that Chinese themselves, they may not be consuming Gari, but I know they make use of the cassava. for other chemical
other things,
ingredients and the rest of them.
resins
They
and
make use of
the
it.
truth is this. I think, like we have tried to identify, government still has a whole lot
Exactly.
to do in
Very
business,
well. Very well.
in terms of regulation, in terms of policy, at least, and enforcement of those policies. For example, if you insist that that area is bad to foreign participation, what it does is that it gives ample opportunity to the local people, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, government should now find a way of helping these local people to maximize their production.
Exactly.
Because one of the things that will make people feel about what you just threw up about people feeling that Malaysian oil, palm oil
is better than the local
Nigeria. There have been pictures going around on social media in recent times about the process of producing palm oil in Nigeria. You can't see that as somebody who's come of age, who's gone through school, and give it thumbs up. Because somebody is standing inside that pool of the oil, and matching it, and through that extracting the oil from the kernel and all that, and you wonder what kind of thing is this. In fact, somebody put up a question in one of the ones I saw recently. I can't say that on air, but I mean, it shows you that there are concerns about the system of production. So if you find a cleaner, more hygienic system that produces it, many people who can afford it would rather go for that than patronize some
imported the oil from Malaysia or Indonesia.
Exactly.
Although on the
so I think what I'm saying by that, the government really needs to put certain minimum standards. For example, stop that kind of
production
process. I mean, entirely stop it, ban it, and say this should not happen. But not just banning it outright and then depriving people of their livelihoods. You could now go there and set up some cottage this thing to start off. You can give them some startup equipment and capital,
exactly,
so that they don't use that particular process any longer, but they can still do their business. And then you train them to use whatever small the equipment, the cottage equipment, to run those things, but ensure that that process is trashed.
Yeah, exactly. We want that to happen, but I can see that over the years, government have also put money in that aspect, but it's never enough. As I normally say as a political economist and economist, I said there is no money that government will give for investment that will ever be enough, because especially as they are sharing money for everybody to put in business, it will never be enough.
No,
but we must continue to increase and improve on what we are giving out as seed fund and startup capital for businesses, particularly for local businesses and the rest of them. And on the part of the government, we know that they are trying to do one or two things in this regard of supporting small businesses and the rest of them.
Yeah.
But it's never enough.
Yeah.
But even the businesses that are giving those monies to, and many of them are also showing forth that the government have supported them in this business line. Because I've had argument whereby the anchor borrower, after CBN gave over 1 trillion naira to farmers, local rice is the most expensive. And we ask the question why. Then a lot of people give us the factors of there is no energy, there is no storage facilities, that when they give them the money, they only give them money to farm. They didn't give them money for storage, they didn't give them for energy, they didn't give them money for transport. So that make reason why the local rice was very expensive. And when miners, when they also supported miners via rice mailing entity, majority of them also build rice mailing entity up and down, but did they support them with energy? And we know the problem of energy in this country. So government must go beyond just sharing money to businesses, but they must also tackle the structural deficit that is affecting businesses, like energy, like bad road, energy are two sides: the electricity energy and the fuel energy. Today, everybody is complaining about high cost of fuel, 1,002, 1,003, 1,004. So if government doesn't tackle that aspect, there is no way you can support any businesses that will grow in the country.
Thank you very much. After this breather, we'll come back and we'll then be on the home run, and we expect, oh no, we just lost one. We'll expect you to make calls. We're looking forward to those calls immediately after this breather. Thank you.
In a world where information is vital to every individual, a platform where technology is a medium to pass information, you can always catch up on all information written in the newspapers, even without having one. Join us on The Press.
Reaching you live from the Abuja studios.
On The Punch for this morning. The Blueprint newspaper, Nigerian Tribune this morning.
As we give you information and opinions about current events and topical issues on politics, business, sports.
All right, welcome back once again. And this time around, we're really looking forward to having you make your calls, and we're willing to take them as you do. And because this is the concluding part of this show, in a few minutes, we will be through with today's edition of the Polity, and it won't be too nice not to have you call. We expect your call from Lagos, from everywhere, from Enugu, as you have always done. And so, good thing, one is coming in right now. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Please, I'm calling from Aba, and my name is Ne.
All right. Can you make your contribution? Yeah. Go on, yes.
This problem we are having in Nigeria now, I think is triggered up from the time fuel subsidy was removed. I was in support of the removal, and I was expecting that whatever we get from that will be put in bringing up our refineries. We have the crude. We can get fuel to bring down the cost of transportation, which is causing the trouble in Nigeria. But since then, I haven't seen anything done in terms of putting up our refineries. That's what I want to know.
Thank you very much. We're all watching. We also have another promise that one of the refineries will be in place very shortly. And by the way, from reports, the Dangote refinery is already up and running.
Exactly.
So let's hope that some pain will be ameliorated in the days and weeks to come. Yeah. So let's still have more of your calls as we get on the home run on this program. Now, Lekan, if you were chosen by a people's group right now, maybe like an NGO to go represent Nigerians, and you are in the team of the president in China right now, what are those very practical, quick win requests that you think should be put forward at a time like this?
I think very interesting and very significant. It means that we should put forward things that are more practical, things that could be seen
and
in the life,
positively
exactly, in the life of the people. And one of it I can quickly point out is that in the energy sector of Nigerian economy, it has been very, very poor in terms of generation. It has been
Please hold your thoughts. Oh no, we lost him again.
It has been very, very poor in terms of generation. It has also been very, very poor supply, even when it is generated. And China has been one of the strong power in energy, particularly electricity generation aspect, which the federal government is also going there to also go and plead. I think we should,
because I think the Minister of Power is on
that team. Yeah. So what I will ask is that, is there any way we can also make the power generation to be well broadened? When it is generated, when it is transmitted, when it is broadened, it is not the one that we are suffering from what they call load shedding. Or they give this area light today, they give the other area light. Yeah. Because what we are suffering from is infrastructure. So can China also help the government with electricity to energy infrastructure to meet up with the lacking infrastructure in terms of transmission of the light across Nigeria. It's very important.
Okay.
Because we are lacking. What I mean is this: transformer. 245 street sharing one transformer that is meant for just one street. Can Chinese government also assist the government in the area of transformer?
Now, when you say assist, is it dash?
Definitely it will be dash, but it can be on a very lower price. Okay. And there could be technical exchanges in the area of teaching Nigerians on how to build transformer.
Right.
We have had an agency that said they are building transformer, but I've not seen any transformer being built by them. Nasani, they say they are building transformer. So that is what we should be looking at for in that regard. The other aspect has to be with the education scholarship. Although people may say, what do you want to go and study in China? We may not need to go there. They can help us to build schools. They have done that in FCT. I've seen Chinese model primary school in FCT, about 2 or 3 of them within FCT. They can do more across the 36 states and FCT. So that will also is something that we can practically see. And you see that school, the one in FCT, parents struggle to put their children in that school because it is not that they build the structure alone. They also train the teachers. They assist the teachers with teaching aids in those schools. So parents struggle to go and they have limited number for student people they can accommodate or admit at a particular time. They won't admit, and they follow those admission instruction very strictly in those Chinese model schools that have been. So we can have a replication of that across Nigeria. That could also help us. Then, in terms of supporting small businesses, there is a Chinese model of how they support their businesses. We can borrow a leaf from how they do it and also implement it, and they can also come and also support our small businesses, because those are the things that we can see physically and immediately to help the economy and bring positive changes to the economy.
Right. Now, we still expect your calls, and I think that the network is acting funny today, but it's one of those things. We're hoping that we get things better, and so that some of these things won't keep happening, so that we can have a better country and all that. So whatever it is, do your best to get across to us, and let's hear your contribution. Lekan, we should be shutting down very shortly. What's a lot of Nigerians are going through a very tough time, and what word would you want to leave with them? What would you want to say to the average Nigerian right now, considering the economy? You heard that woman who called.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it was a little bit different from what exactly we're treating. Exactly. She had reason to raise the issue of fuel costs
and transport costs.
Because that's where it hurts for as far as she's concerned. And come to think of it, she's one of the few persons, because most people from very day one didn't buy the idea. Exactly. She says that she originally supported the idea, but right now you can imagine that she probably is regretting that and saying, because she said she believed that whatever proceeds from that, the savings from that, would be channeled into things that will make life better. But she hasn't seen that. That why our refinery is not working. So there are millions of such people. There are millions of who think whose hopes are dashed. There are millions who think is this all we're going to be turning round and round in? There are millions who for whom things are falling apart. So what word would you have for such persons at a time like this?
It's very sad that most Nigerians are passing through a lot of economic hardship.
Lekan, let's see if this one will come true. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, hello? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah? Quickly, let's have your name and your location, yeah?
My name is Mesoma. I'm calling from Aba.
From Aba, right? Go ahead.
Okay, I want to talk about the subsidy, the removal of subsidy. Yeah, in Nigeria today, everybody is suffering about removal of subsidy. The transporters, the drivers, maybe taking 100 naira, but now they are charging extra. Because here in Aba, they are selling for 1,000. In the village, they are selling 1,000 too, which is not good. He told us why he removed the subsidy, that he will be able to produce or let them repair the fuel subsidy in Nigeria.
The refineries.
But none of them, the refineries, none of them is working. They are killing innocent Nigerians. If you go outside the middle today in Aba, you will see a baby of 2 years, 3 years, begging for food, begging and both pure water. When you have not even go to the filling station to buy for you have not put your tank, your motor, talking about to eat. Here, to eat in Nigeria today is wahala. When President Goodluck Jonathan was a president in Nigeria, a bag of rice was 7,000. People was complaining. Now it's 70. What are they going to say now? Are they going to shut or are they going to go there to clean?
All right, Ms. Oma. All right, Ms. Oma, thank you very much. Thanks. I think that's the same point I was making.
Exactly.
For me, it even looks like it's from the same person. But, we can understand that.
Exactly. As I was saying, I'm not just going to have a word for the Nigerian citizen, but also have a word for the government. It's so sad that at this point in time, most of us are passing through a lot of economic hardship. But even both employed and unemployed, everybody is passing through the same thing, because what we are earning is not what the value of what we can take back home. What I mean is this: if you earn 100,000, 200,000, the value of what you want to take home when you enter the market,
the purchasing power
is very low. I don't even want to be even using the word purchasing power, because what purchasing power? We cannot get value for naira. That's what they will just break out to say. So all hope is not lost. But what we also need to do is to also encourage the government. Is there an alternative to our economic principles? Can we say, let us look away from this neoliberal choice of economic principles that government will always be out for profit? Because one of the things that is pushing government away from subsidy was that they don't want to repair refineries. The private sector should take over those refineries. But is that the best way? And these are neoliberal economic policy choice that they are making. So government should also think, is there any other way from all this policy that we are taking to homegrown economic policy that will help the poor to breathe? And one of the key things they can look back is the refinery should go back. Private refinery that are open, they also give them crude oil to refine. They let us have fuel. Because once we are able to tackle transportation costs, then other costs that is coming through can reduce. Then I won't forget, because this is the area of my specialty, monetary policy of government, foreign exchange. I said it in the sister station this morning that government is selling bonds, government is selling treasury papers. They don't want to go and collect loan because we have shouted on them they should not collect loan. So they are now using another quick means to collect money from people, then give them higher interest. They are going to sell another bonds paper this month of September with 18.02%. And they will sell the paper, they will make the money. But the problem is that where are they going to make the money? From exchange of naira to dollar. That's where they will make the money. So government should look at ways of, even though we don't want them to collect loan, they should look at how to ensure that the revenue they are collecting from all the fees they are charging can go around and help the economy to work. That is the message for the citizen and for Nigerian government.
Thank you very much, Lekon. At this point, we might just be drawing the curtain on the show, but just a little while. You know, when you talked about the fuel problem, someone, a political leader in this country, said something, and it really resonated with me. And I was thinking about it, and I said, "This is sound." He said, "Do not privatize the profits while socializing the losses."
Exactly.
We have had profits from NNPC, we did not feel any effect
at all.
So, but when the losses come, everybody has to bear it, has to suffer it. That's very, very unfortunate. Exactly. In actual fact, that came from Barrister Adefolarin. He was a presidential candidate for SDP in the last elections. So he did say that, and I read it and I said, man, this is sound. Do not stop privatizing the profits while socializing the losses. I think that government and the organs, the agencies responsible for some of these things need to take some wisdom from that. We can't continue to only be part of the losses. Let Nigerians be part when there is something good to share.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. At this point, this edition of the POLITY from KAFTAN TV will be coming to an end. I've had a great time in the studio with Adefolarin OlamiLekan, a political economist, very popular in the TV radio circuits in Abuja. He's been contributing so much to nation building through his knowledge and through his very logical and fearless analysis. And I hope that you are empowered to do a lot more.
Amen.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And we do hope that when we call upon you some other time, you'll make yourself available.
By the grace of God.
So I thank you in advance.
Yes. You remember that we are always being together on other platform to do this, and I'll, by the grace of God, I'll make myself available.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.